What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the DBL podcast. I am your host, as usual, Rock Solid. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about settling in a relationship. And lately, love really hasn't been in the air in our homes, in our communities, our jobs, banks, with all the things going on. That's a pretty scary thought to think that love really isn't in the air. And we're not talking about this Gen Z type of love, right? They're a different breed. They don't even believe in love. And that's okay for them, right? But, for us over the age of 25, we still believe in love. And, that's why we're here. But settling isn't always a bad thing as long as it doesn't come with, stipulations or it doesn't put you in a compromising position, okay? So you're probably asking yourself by now, like, how would I know if I'm settling in a relationship? Well, I'm not going to tell you because I'm not there in your home. I'm not there in your relationship, but I will do my best to give you some clues, some hints about that very topic, okay? And you're probably asking yourself, what does settling actually mean when you're in a relationship? Well, that part, I'm definitely going to tell you what that means, okay? And yes, there's going to be a different interpretation, of what this actually means. But anyway, now that we done got the little shenanigans out the way, right? Let's go ahead and dive in here, okay? Um, More often than not, you have a lot of people when they're talking to their girlfriends, not necessarily guys, but in this retrospect, women they're talking about, I think I'm settling, and like I said, most time this is women, but this is a mindset. It's not an emotion. You know what I'm saying? This is a mindset when you're thinking that you are, and you start looking for that validation from other people. Okay. So let me tell you, what I think settling means. To me, settling is it means that you're ready to accept less than what you think you deserve, and that can be a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Because when you get into that place where you're okay with it, or you're anticipating that you're going to, that's a red flag, and that's a definite red flag. Okay. But before we go any further, right? I wanna say this. You first of all have to be worthy of what it is you think you deserve, because a lot of people are under the interpretation, I deserve $1 million, or I deserve this nice car. But if you ain't got a driver's license, doesn't matter what you deserve, you can't drive it. If you can't count, how do you know you got $1 million? How you know you didn't get $100? You get what I'm saying? So you have to be worthy of what it is that you're actually, asking for. Okay. And first and foremost, like us fellas, right? This part is intended for you. Okay. The ladies are guilty of this as well, but again, this here is intended for the fellas. You got to know what you want. Okay. Trying to chase a big butt and a smile, we already know because the song told us that girl is poison. Okay? But for real, a big butt and a smile is great if you only want a woman for show and tell. You know what I'm saying? But if that's all she has to offer, right? You're going to end up settling for less anyway. Or you're going to find out the hard way, what it is that you really want, right? But I don't want to get too far off track. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because, us guys, we kind of go into our own little headspace and we think that we know everything, and that we don't fall guilty of just chasing the wrong things and ending up in the wrong place, okay? But when you decide, to settle in a relationship, you choose to accept things that, deep down, that it don't sit right by you, okay? And the fear of losing the one you love is the main reason, like, you could be settling. you know People don't want to lose the people that they have in their life, or they got this fear of being alone, so they try to, to accept more things than they normally would under normal circumstances, okay? And normally this starts to happen when you get so focused on the relationship and you start to lose focus on yourself. And as I've stated before, you know what I'm saying? You are more important than any relationship, because you can't make another person happy if you're not happy. You know, and this happens when you try to stay, committed to a relationship that doesn't really deserve your best anymore. And I'm not here to tell you what that is, but you know. You know what I'm saying? And that's the craziest part about that last statement is that you already know that. And guess what? So does your partner. You know what I'm saying? They know that they don't even deserve you. But the crazy part about it is because you won't walk away or make a decision that's best for yourself, you end up staying in a situation where you end up losing. But however, it would help if you didn't confuse settling with compromising though. And that I want to put some real focus on that, right? You can't confuse settling with compromising. You know, when you choose to be okay with everything your partner does at your own expense to keep that relationship going, that's called settling, okay? On the other hand, compromising is also accepting the fact that your partner isn't perfect, but you're willing to accept them and their flaws. And listen, all the ladies, this is important for all healthy relationships. Okay, there's a difference between settling and compromising. Settling, like we already stated, is something you already know doesn't sit right with you or isn't good for you or staying too long. Compromising is knowing that, what I'm saying, this person is just as flawed as me and this is somebody that I can grow with. But if you're the only one growing, now you're settling. If they're the only ones growing, then they're settling, okay? So we got to be mindful of what that means, okay? But in a healthy relationship, in all healthy relationship, you must know the difference between the two because you don't want to make a decision too soon and it turns out to be the other versus the one that you chose, okay? So let's talk about the difference between settling and being realistic, right? Have you, have you ever like found yourself questioning if the partner or the person that you're in love with is the one or the right one for you? You know what I'm saying? Or start asking yourself, am I settling in this relationship? Right? Listen, it ain't easy to know if you're settling in a relationship because, sometimes just understanding your partner's shortcomings and a relationship that you share with them can really put you in a compromising position because you really don't know which direction to turn. So you're trying to figure it out, right? And I'm gonna try to give you a couple of clues here to, from my own opinion, to let you know whether you're settling or being realistic with yourself, right? In most realistic relationships, you knowing that you can't have your way all the time. That's being realistic. And when you need to compromise and bend a little to accommodate your partner all the time, but if you're the one that's constantly making all the sacrifices and going the extra mile, then guess what? You're not being realistic. You're now settling. Okay? Because if you're doing, it's supposed to be give and take. And if you're doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking, then you're not being realistic. That's not how things are supposed to be. And don't, I'm not talking about the 50-50 crap that people keep coming at me with. It doesn't exist, people, okay? But in relationships, it's supposed to be a give and take. Sometimes you have to eat the loss, for lack of a better term, right? Sometimes you have to eat the loss and give them the W. One, it allows that conversation to be over with. But two, and most importantly, it allows your partner, the person that you're supposed to be in a relationship with, it allows them room to know that, what I'm saying, this person also knows that they have flaws as well. I'm not the only one, okay? But you have to take a couple of necessary steps, you know what I'm saying? To have a realistic. And the first thing is that you got to realize your partner, may not be the trophy wife or husband. You know what I'm saying? And as kids, we all dreamed of, marrying like the Haley Berrys or some of you ladies with the Denzel Washington and all that right there, right? And you try to marry someone famous or an athlete or something like that, right? Somebody that's going to boost your ego, right? But in reality, that's not who we choose. That's not the way life ends up for us. And listen, that's okay. However, if you're beginning to slowly let go of your future, right? Your dreams, your own personal aspirations and stuff like that, like giving up on your future, you're starting to settle again. That's not being realistic. Okay? Look, let's be honest, right? Relationships are not easy. And if you ask me, they aren't supposed to be. They're not supposed to be easy. You have if relationships are easy, you have no reason to work on yourself or try to make that work or try to make that relationship better. You know what I'm saying? You both are going to, forever be evolving. So it gets harder when one person is doing all the growing and the other person isn't. And that's being realistic. Suddenly is when when you stop, or you stop trying to slow down, or stop trying to wait on the other person just to realize, you know what I'm saying, that they're never mentally growing, or that they don't even want to grow. If they don't have the capacity to even realize that, that they're not even growing and you're still growing, then you're not being realistic with yourself. You're now settling. But for me, the better question is your relationship healthy enough to be able to tell that other person, what I'm saying, that that's what's going on? You know, if you can't, then this is settling again, because healthy relationships have the ability to say, what I'm saying, look, we've gotten into a rut. What I'm saying, when we first got together, these are things that excited me, these are things that excited you, but these things no longer excite me. I'm now looking for more. I'm now looking for better. That's a healthy relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's also, as the other person that's being told to, you have to be realistic and say, they're not trying to insult me. They're being honest with me. And you hear them out, because this is what healthy relationships do, right? And then the next time we have this conversation, I'm going to express myself. I'm going to tell you what I think, what I'm changing. I think we need to go back to this because we've gotten away from our foundation. And because we've gotten away from our foundation, we're starting to grow apart. That doesn't mean you have to break up. That means that you're having an honest conversation with yourself and also with your partner. You know what I'm saying? And but being realistic is being able to say that, and the two of you are able to kind of like sit there and try to figure out new changes, because that's what it requires to grow forward and to grow with the people that you want to be in with. You know, but I would ask you this question: are you excited about, that imperfect future together? Are you still, or are you afraid of being alone? You know what I'm saying? Because relationships are not perfect, but you still got to be excited about those imperfections. You know what I'm saying? Because there are so many changes and unexpected occurrences that happen in life. You know what I'm saying? So the future it's not going to be perfect, right? And you still have to be excited about, that imperfect future together. And that's being realistic with yourself. Okay? But if you okay with those imperfections with someone because you don't want to be alone, then that's a whole nother story. Now you're settling. Okay? Relationships, they come out of fear a lot of times of being alone or starting over. And that's a scary place to be. And I'm not even really sure how to even, bring you out of that rut, because when you're scared of yourself, there isn't anything that anybody can give you. If you don't want to be by yourself, or if you got this fear of starting over, that's not a good thing. That's a red flag, okay? So now that I've given you some opinion, right? Let me give you some factual based opinions. Some factual based opinions. Now I'm gonna try to give you a few things to hopefully help you recognize if you're settling, because I've been kind of, all over the place, but I'm trying to give it all to you. And then, like I said, like I always normally try to bring it together, right? If you become comfortable with your deal breakers, you're settling. Okay. Have you ever like sworn that, you're not going to deal with another person who drinks to get drunk or something like that, or somebody who doesn't ride motorcycles, or someone this, your deal breakers, whatever they are, right? and you find yourself in that exact same situation or that same type of relationship again and again and again. If you putting up with things, or traits that you said you would never do again, then you're settling into a place, what I'm saying, where you're comfortable with your deal breakers. So when you start being okay with things that deep down you don't like, I don't know another way to say that you're settling. You know what I'm saying? Um, what about like external timelines, or what I'm saying, or pressures that you might put on yourself, right? Like the society that we live in, it has different opinions and rules regarding relationship, and some that we're accustomed to, but most of them they're not. They're new. Like for example, right? Everyone has an opinion on what age you should, have kids, or when you should get married, right? These here what we call external pressures, you know, and those are the main reasons why people settle in a relationship, because or end up in worst case scenario, end up in a marriage, that they know is not right for them. You know, you got to examine and look at yourself deep down, what I'm saying, with yourself and your partner, and you got to be honest with them and yourself, but you have to start with yourself first. Because the moment you start caring more about your partner than yourself, again, we talked about this already, you're now settling for whatever's available. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me give you another way, right? Here's another way you can find out, if you find yourself not being heard in a relationship. You can't make any decisions, and then guess what? You've started settling. When your opinion no longer matters, you're settling. That's not being realistic. That's not compromising. That's settling. We talked about the compromising part. We know what compromising is. Give and take, right? Realistic is being honest with yourself. But we're talking about the settling part. I'm trying to show you how to recognize if you're settling in a relationship, right? If you're constantly scared that, what I'm saying, you have a better chance of love out there with somebody else and you're missing out on it, then guess what? You're settling. Yeah, you're settling. Because a constant worry that there is someone better for you out there who can treat you or appreciate you and see your worth, that's a clear definition of settling. But most importantly, it's also unfair. Because when we go into this fearful place and being concerned about everything else other than, we never communicate that with the other person. And now you're not being fair, because again, in a healthy relationship, communication is better than sex. If you find yourself spending more energy into trying to change, his or her mind into being the best version of themselves, then that's a huge red flag, first of all, for the both of you. Okay. When the person that, what I'm saying, you love, their habits are starting to bother you, and you find like, that his or her, behavior is unacceptable to you, but you still hoping, right? That the love you have for them will change them, then guess what? You're lying to yourself, first of all, but you're settling. Okay? Again, I'm trying to give y'all some free game here. I'm just trying to throw it out there, man, to just let you know, what's going on. You got to pay attention, because people, I'm telling you, like, people will not give you their information. They're making their mind up or changing their mind about your relationship without being honest with you. You as an individual have to be responsible for self first. And that's why I keep trying to tell y'all that there is no relationship more important than yourself. When people say that, what I'm saying, you're my last breath, or, what I'm saying, you're my heartbeat, first of all, shut up. Kill yourself, because you shouldn't be saying that, because your life cannot revolve around one person. They can never be enough. You have to be enough for yourself in order for anyone else to fulfill what it is that you're lacking and or missing. Okay? But we're gonna continue on with these little clues on how to know if you're settling, right? Do you find yourself putting yourself on hold? or putting your life on hold, right? Because as I stated, in healthy relationships, you should be encouraged for your personal growth, right? It should challenge, that other person should be challenging you to be the best version of yourself. If you got to put, your trucking career on hold, if you got to put your singing, dancing, you want to be an athlete, if you got to put your dreams and aspiration aside for a relationship, guess what? You're settling. You know, is your excitement about the relationship or about your partner starting to go downhill? If it is, guess what? You're settling. You know, do you prefer to spend time with like friends and family and other people, to avoid your partner? You know what I'm saying? That's settling. But guess what? You still won't give up on a relationship. Now you're being unfair. Now you're entering in unhealthy relationship places because you're choosing to spend time with other people and other places and do other things, but yet you're not giving what's required to your relationship. That other person is now having to settle for whatever it is that you're going to give to them, and that's not fair to them. If you feel this way, I'm telling you, you're settling. But on the other hand, right? If you don't have like a sense of happiness, and you know what I'm saying, and you feel like nothing, if you don't feel nothing when the other person is around you, that's not a good thing because you're settling. And like this here is the one, that should scare you. This one right here, this one right here, this is the one that should actually scare you. A classic sign of settling is this fear of being alone. People choose to stay at horrible jobs, horrible relationships, horrible cars, horrible friendships because they don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to feel like they lose or that they've lost. You know what I'm saying? While this fear, you know, it might be understandable, right? And a lot of people might relate to this, right? But it can't be the sole reason you stay in a relationship. Again, you have to care about yourself first and foremost. Loneliness can, it can oftentimes it can make you feel like you need to be with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Be around people all the time. You know what I'm saying? Or like you need to be in a relationship just to feel like it completes you. And, that's not a good thing because again, you're relying on someone else to esteem yourself. Cat Williams said it best. Cat Williams said it best. You got to, it's called self esteem because you got to be able to esteem your own self. Okay? However, that may not be the solution. You know what I'm saying? Instead, you can learn to be alone without feeling lonely. Well, what does that mean? You're probably asking, what does that mean? How do I learn to be alone without being lonely? Being comfortable with yourself, being at peace with who you are as an individual. You know, appreciating someone being in your life, but your life not being completely upside down if they're not in your life. You know, this is settling for sure, but most importantly, it can also put you into a state of depression. I'm trying to keep the people that hear my voice in a clear mental space because the world we live in with gas prices and all this right here and food prices and $24 eggs and $18 packs of cigarettes and $6 at the gas pump, you already depressed enough. Your home is supposed to be your peace. The people that you invite into in your space should also be your peace. So in relationships, you should be finding that peace so that you don't or you can avoid falling into a state of depression because of everything else that's piled on top of it, okay? Let me ask you this. Have you ever like had this constant feeling or you need to be, like convince your friends or family that you're in a happy relationship? Like seriously, have you ever found yourself having to overcompensate and trying to convince everybody else that knows your relationship is trash? They already know. But you spend the majority, oh no, we're good, girl, or what I'm saying, yeah, man, everything good with my girl, man. We argued again, because that's all you do, right? Y'all always fighting, but you're trying to convince other people who already know the truth. You know what I'm saying? Or do you try to emphasize, you know what I'm saying, the reason why you're dating a certain person? You know, the guy that's not good for you. You know, the one that you already know isn't good for you. You know what I'm saying? Like you constantly trying to justify, you know, why you're around these people, while you're still with them, what it is that makes like you're actually trying to convince yourself by trying to convince them that they're happy. You are a textbook definition of settling. Okay? If you find yourself like frequently comparing your relationship to other people's relationships, you know what I'm saying? Then you realize that, you know, other people seem happier or more compatible. This is a red flag, first and foremost. This is a red flag. But of course, right, when you dating somebody, you know what I'm saying, you love and adore, you know what I'm saying, that the comparison, you know, if you're really dating someone and you're in a healthy relationship, those comparisons don't matter, or at least they shouldn't. Because in a healthy relationship, you know what you have. But settling is a textbook definition of an unhealthy relationship. Everything that we're talking about, everything that I'm trying to convince you guys of or trying to show you or hope that you see with these tips that I'm giving you is it all starts with being in a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, there ain't too many things that can't be fixed. Okay? There ain't nothing that can't be fixed. But look, I don't want to spend all day talking about that, okay? I also want to give you some different outlooks as well. You know what I'm saying? You're probably wondering, you know, is it ever okay to settle? And, you know, and that's the part that, you know, I stipulated at the top, you know, is it ever okay to settle? I say yes, as long as it doesn't come with stipulations. You know what I'm saying? You should never have to give up who you are for anyone else ever. However, right, it is understandable why you would want to protect your relationship given that, you know, you've invested a lot of time and effort into it. Okay? So, and again, we're not talking about giving up yourself. We're talking about giving yourself into the relationship because you want to protect it, okay? However, you know, there's probably going to be a big chance that, you know, you end up feeling physically and probably emotionally drained, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a long relationships are a long race. You got to be built to last. You got to be built to survive it. You know what I'm saying? Because two different people from two different backgrounds, two different perspectives. You already have a lot of challenges against you already. Okay, so therefore you need to be with someone who can nurture your personal growth, and you can also nurture theirs. Somebody that's gonna push you to be the best version of yourself. Because if you're in a healthy relationship, you're pushing them to be the best version of themselves. You want to be with somebody that's going to support your dreams, push you to go back to school, push you in your diet plan, push you in your eating habits. Someone that's going to push you and support you in everything. You know, if you were that you're selling for someone that, you know what I'm saying, that you don't love, you know, for all the right reasons, hell, you might, and again, we talked about it, you might be scared of being alone, you know, but you have to let go of those feelings. You know, however, for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying, settling or not, you know what I'm saying, you got to know your own worth. And when you know your own worth, you're going to never settle for less than what you deserve. You know, there's a couple of ways that I think you can avoid, you know what I'm saying, settling for less. You know, but the first thing is you got to be able to take control of your own life. When, you know, when you're in relationships and you're settling, you're going to probably end up blaming, you know what I'm saying, all your problems on the other person because you're the one who's choosing to settle for less. They may be the reason that you're settling, right? But it's not their fault. They're not holding you there at gunpoint. At least I hope they're not. You can't blame your issues on them because, again, no one is holding you at gunpoint. You're not being forced to stay in this relationship. We're not living in a third world country where you're being forced to stay in marriages or relationships that you don't want to be in. You're making a choice. So the moment you decide to accept the things that you don't want or like, it's not their problem anymore. That's yours. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I started this off by saying you got to, first of all, take control of your own life. You know, it is certainly an easier way out, but it's not the right way. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to take a step back and examine your own life. Because, like I said, it's easy to blame somebody else because, they probably a crappy person to be with anyway, male or female. So, yeah, it's easier to blame them, but that's not the right way to go about it. Okay? You got to take control of your own life. When you own your own life, you know what I'm saying? You clearly understand what you want out of life and in general and out of your relationships. So when you own your own life and take control of it, you know what it is that you want out of your own life, out of your own friendship, out of your children, and importantly, out of your own relationship. You know what I'm saying? You will know when to stop settling for less, but you got to be patient enough to wait for the better, for what's better out there for you. If you're gonna walk away from that relationship and take control of your own life, right? You also got to have the patience to wait around for what is actually intended for you. Every relationship that you've ever been in ended for a reason. Take something from it, grow from it, and move forward. Because our lives are ever evolving. What you wanted when you was 18, you may not want when you're 25, and that's okay. But I'm gonna try to give you guys a couple of things that, what I'm saying, I suggest that you can use to try to take control of your life. First and foremost is don't be afraid to try new things. You know what I'm saying? I know, maybe you like white, maybe you like Hispanic, maybe you like black, maybe you like Italian, whatever it is, right? Whatever your preference is, if you're getting the same results from dating the same people, try something different. If you wore Jordan, or if you wore some Vans in high school, when you became an adult, you probably started wearing Jordans. Or if you wore regular heels, now you're probably wearing red bottoms. If you wore, fedora hats, now you're wearing ball caps. If you wore baseball caps, maybe now you're wearing Garrisons. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to try something different. No matter what corner or whatever it is that people are trying to push you in, you still got to try new things, because that's when you try new things, that's a sign of growth, but it's also another sign of taking control of your own life. How about this? Challenge the norm. We just talked about it, right? You always go to the club, you always at the strip joint, or you always at the food place. Do something different. Go against the grain. You know what I'm saying? If everybody wants to go here, maybe you go there. Maybe they follow you. Become a leader and not a follower. Okay? So challenge the norm. How about another one? Learn to say no. We're going over here. No, we're not. I don't want to go over there. Have a conversation. Don't just one word them, but learn how to say no. Deal breakers. I don't care how great you look, how great you think the sex might be. If it's a deal breaker, say no. If you don't like the shirt, say no. If you don't like the position, say no. Try something different. Challenge the norm. Learn to say no. You got to be more disciplined, especially, right, about the quality of time for yourself. Remember, we're talking about taking control of your life. So you have to be disciplined, but you also got to be more disciplined when it comes to your quality time for yourself. Remember, I've been emphasizing through this whole episode about not giving up yourself to be in a relationship. The more time you have with yourself, the better you are for the person you're trying to be with. Because in order to be a great couple, you both have to know how to be great individuals. And that is relevant, that is important, and that is the most important thing, is having discipline about yourself, okay? How about this? Take control of your life by preparing for the worst. Remember, I told you, I don't care what relationship I'm in. Do I want to lose you? No. But I'm not afraid, because you can change your mind just as well as I can. You can decide that the guy at the corner store is a better fit than you than me. The house down the street is better than the one we got. People can change their mind at any given time. So you're prepared for the worst. But to be prepared for the worst, you have to do the things that I've already talked about, right? trying new things, learning to say no, challenging the norm, but being in tune, self discipline, with your inner self. Quality time for yourself. Okay? So preparing for the worst. How about this one? Try to stop hanging out with people whose company isn't enjoyable for you. Stop settling, because that's what we're talking about, right? Stop settling for people you don't enjoy being around. You know, that annoying friend with that bad laugh, or the person with the drinking habit, or the person that drinks to get drunk. You know what I'm saying? Stop hanging around people that don't make the time, because we're talking about your time. Take control of your life. Stop, you know what I'm saying? Stop going down that route. Do something better for yourself. Because when you start giving up on yourself and stop and start hanging around people that you don't like, you end up picking up those bad habits and they start to transfer into your life, and now you're becoming the person you don't like. Okay? How about this one, right? Think of every think of everything as a choice. Everything is a choice. People don't believe that when you're in relationships, you're still dating. When you're in a relationship, you are still dating. When you're in a relationship, you are still dating. How many times do women say whatever you did in the beginning, you got to do it at the end, or that whatever you stop doing in the beginning, that's what's going to make me walk away at the end? Because people stop dating. What you did to get me is what you're going to need to do to keep me. You can improve on it, but you got to continue doing it. And the one thing you did in the beginning was you were dating. So think of everything as a choice. Make sure that you keep yourself together. Take care of yourself so the other person knows that, you know what I'm saying, you're not, because trust me, we as a man, we already know there's, 8 billion people on the planet Earth, and you happen to choose me, that there ain't nobody out there better than me. I know what my shortcomings are, but I also know you got choices. But I also got to take care of myself to make sure you know I got choices as well. People are going to hit on you every single day. But whatever choice you make sure it's the best one for you. Even if that means choosing someone else, you got to be honest with yourself, but you got to think of everything as a choice. And this is the last tip I'm going to try to give you on that, right? How about this right here? And this is the best advice I can give you about taking control of your own life. Stop listening to these random mofos online and their relationship quotes. These are people that you don't even know, myself included. Okay? If you don't know me, you're taking advice from someone that you don't know. I'm not giving you advice. I'm trying to give you other tips and clues on how to help or maybe broaden or growth your own self and or relationship with the people that are in it. You know what I'm saying? And so you've got to stop listening to these people online, because I'm telling you, the crap that you see online, man, makes you question people, makes you question humans. Because some of these people ain't got no freaking sense. Like, real talk. Like, here's another thing I would suggest, right? On how to not settle. How about raise your standards? Could it be possible? You know what I'm saying? That you keep settling for less in these relationships because of your own standards? If you're an educated, women always want to talk about their educated black women, blah, blah, blah. We're going to say men. If you're an educated man, you got your act together, you know what you want in life, you got the car you want, you live in the life you want, but now you want to share it with someone, right? Why are you dating somebody not on your level? Unless that's what you want. But when you lower your standards to accommodate somebody else, you are officially settling. How you present yourself will determine how people treat you. That is a forgotten art in this world. People seem to think that, you can dress like a hoe, but people are going to treat you like an executive. People seem to think that because you dress like, you're the world's best dressed gang member, that people are going to treat you like a business partner. Presentation still matters in how people treat you. Because I learned a long time ago, it's not what it is, but it's what other people perceive it to be. So therefore, raising your own standards will help you attract someone who you want to match your own standards. So let me repeat that for you, right? Raising your own standards will help you attract someone who can match your standards. Because the reason why they can match them is because they've raised their own standards and you match theirs. But it'll also help you pluck off, you know what I'm saying, or get rid of the riffraff. You know, the people that's not willing to match your effort, the ones that are not willing to match your standards, the people that don't live up to expectations, the people that can't keep their words, the people that can't hold true to their word. It'll help you get rid of those people as well. You know, when you're ready to commit to someone fully, you must achieve it. So raise your standards and commit to finding a better you that will also open up the doors for you to meet a better partner, somebody whom we hope can make you happy. You know what I'm saying? Don't settle, people. Take actions. No relationship is ever going to be perfect. So therefore, don't confuse like settling and compromising. Okay. However, you can relate to like 10 signs of settling and you know what I'm saying that I discussed above, right? It may take time, but the first thing you must do is take action. Settling for someone you know is not good enough for you, it is going to frustrate the hell out of you. It's going to drain you. It's going to make you like feel overwhelmed with like, you know what I'm saying, what the hell? You know, how do you overcome the fear of being lonely? You know, recognizing that sometimes being lonely, being alone, you're actually happier than being in a relationship. Sometimes being alone makes you happier than being in a relationship. And we see this every single day, people talking about it. So sometimes you got to choose self over everything else. Sometimes you got to choose your happiness over someone else's love. Sometimes you got to choose your standards over someone else's shortcomings. I told you I don't like to drag these episodes out. I done put my facts out there. I done put my opinion out there. So in closing, I just want to say, you know what I'm saying, we all have to be honest with ourselves first. Okay? Then our partner. Because if you're not, you start to project those things out into the world in a negative way. And even though your friends may give you high praise for putting your foot down, you could also be putting down a relationship that could have had a lot more hope. You know what I'm saying? And what you prayed for. But because you chose to, you know what I'm saying, you chose something and it doesn't mean, you know, you have to receive it. But you also have to have the capacity to receive it. You know, this is why me, you know, Raymond, I personally take exception, you know what I'm saying, to people talking about you won't realize that I was your blessing, you know what I'm saying, until I'm gone. And for me, I say maybe you was. But if you don't have the capacity to receive and also give the blessing that you're supposed to be, then maybe you was my blessing because now you're out of my life and you done took that dark cloud with you. I'm just saying, right? I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned into this episode. As always, you know what I'm saying? If this episode is for you, share it. Tell people about it. If it ain't for you, share it. Tell people about it because there's somebody we know that's going through something. Somebody might be able to get something from it that you may not have gotten from it, right? So don't be afraid to like, don't be afraid to share. You guys have been doing an amazing job at it, and I want to say thank you. I want to give a shout out to, you know what I'm saying, those of you that tune in every day to Shenanigans. You know what I'm saying? I love the support. You know what I'm saying? But do me a favor. Okay, I'm asking this every week. Do me a favor. You know, screenshot a flyer from one of my social media accounts. Invite people, you know what I'm saying, in mass. You know what I'm saying, versus a one-on-one. We're all growing and fast. So let's keep that going. I want to say thank you to everybody from me